Hey everybody, welcome to the Designorama challenges that are being hosted by IXDF United States Communities. So these Designorama challenges are set up to be conducted over a week, but they're broken down into 5 individual steps. Oftentimes those individual steps will be clusters of things that relate to each other. So in this case, this week, there are 3 that relate to each other and 2 that relate to each other, representing what could be considered a larger task. And you can do them individually across different properties and break them out that way, or you can approach them as if they were 2 separate things instead of 5. We'll be delivering all of these on the Sunday before the week starts and then posting the individual challenges every day. So challenge 1 will be Monday, 2 will be Tuesday, 3 will be Wednesday, but we'll post all 5 of them on Sunday for people who want to work as teams or they want to work in more compartmentalized or smaller scope chunks of time. So for instance, people want to do things on the weekend or potentially they want to work as teams asynchronously. For this week, we are working on foundational skills. If you were in the meeting earlier this week, these will look very familiar. So these are going to be very close to what we presented as an example of how we're going to run things. Just a handful of tips. This will be running from February 10th to February 14th, and I'll deliver these on February 9th so you have the complete set along with the series of videos. Just a handful of tips as you're going through this. The hope here is that you're building skills that you want to build, you're growing skills that you want to grow. And, there's an assumption here that you have particular professional goals or personal goals related to that. And what I would recommend is try to squeeze as much juice out of this as you can. If you really want to work for a specific company, try to pick challenges and properties, so websites, apps, so on and so forth, experiences, that would be similar to ones that they would solve. If you hope to work for the marketing team for the Gap, designing and running computational analysis on traffic and doing UI design for their web properties, focus on retail, focus on the Gap. Just really focus on what you hope to achieve. If you're not sure what you want to achieve, if you're not sure who you may want to work for, what companies you'd like to support, try out different ones each time. You're going to learn a little bit about the industry each time you do this, and you'll have a wide variety of things under your belt to help you communicate your value moving forward. The other is simply to not forget the other supporting skills as you're capturing insights and producing output. It's very important to always practice storytelling and visual communication, how you write things, UX writing. Because one part of this work is doing the analysis, doing the design, but another very big part of it is communicating what you've learned and what you are trying to change to other people, and especially people who are not designers or people who don't have the depth of design practice that you do. And so it's just important to continue to work to communicate that. And it'll be somewhat easy to test out as you share these each week with everyone. When people start asking questions, you'll realize, oh, maybe I missed something. Maybe I could have done this a little more deeply. Maybe I could have explained this differently. But don't lose sight of the fact that there will always be questions. I would never go into a readout, a presentation, or a review expecting people to smile at you, pat you on the back, and say, great job, let's build this, without asking a single question. So I'm really excited to get started with this, and I will move into the series of videos to talk about the individual challenges this week. But before I go through that, I will walk you through all of them. So the first one is conducting the heuristic evaluation. And just to keep this a little bit smaller, because the heuristic evaluation can take a little bit of time, try to find 3 issues based on a usability framework. In this particular article, there is, at the bottom, there's a list of the Jacob Nielsen heuristics, but there are also a series of other ones linked. Just pick one set and then take the property you're reviewing, go through it yourself. So don't you don't necessarily need to build a full study where you find a series of evaluators and have them run through the whole thing and then have them provide feedback. But just try running through it yourself. If you do have the time and energy, maybe grab someone that you know could do this, and the article helps you understand how to pick that person and have them go through it and maybe pick out a handful of things. But a real heuristic evaluation can be a pretty big thing if you're building any sort of artifacts to communicate what you're doing. So consider just ways to make it smaller and to go through the motions a bit, just to get used to the concept. This is the first week, we're just warming up. But the article is fairly good in helping you do that. The second one is take that and what you learned and produce some low-fidelity wireframes or a low-fidelity prototype that communicates some of the challenges and addresses the issues. If it can be, static wireframes. It can also be a prototype depending on what you're approaching. Free account in Figma should help you with that. There's a bit here on low-fidelity prototypes. It's a good resource to read through if you're not familiar with them. But there's plenty of stuff out there on the web on developing low-fidelity prototypes. This one is a continuation of that. So apply visual and interaction principles. Take that same thing and produce a high-fidelity design or a high-fidelity prototype. If this begins to feel like too much, consider redesigning only the areas of the page that are negatively impacted or impacted by the challenges that you found. You can easily screen cap the other parts of the page and just put them in as big images that fill the gaps, or you can put in placeholder content, make it fit the visual design, but don't add a lot of refinement to it at all. So that was one set. The next set are these two that make up the 5. Perform a cognitive walkthrough. So pick a e-commerce checkout flow or a key user journey in another digital product. But I think an e-commerce checkout flow is a good one. It can be fairly in-depth, so this may be a little bit more on the time-consuming side. But really try hard to focus on the checkout flow and all the activities that they're participating in, and go through the cognitive walkthrough that way, and create a readout that explains what you're seeing and what you found. And then the last one, and it's fairly light, and it'll help support maybe the weight of that previous one, which is write 3 user stories based on your cognitive walkthrough findings. You don't need to address everything in the user stories. You can if you want to write more than 3, but work on writing a good user story. So as this particular type of user, I want to achieve something so that, and then explain exactly why they're doing it. And that, I think, is the hardest part for a lot of folks. I've seen user stories that said, as a user, I want to select a state so that I can select the state that I'm living in. And maybe that's not bad, but it was oddly scoped. And work through it and think through how you would write these. As a user, I want to select a different address so that I can send it to where I will be on vacation. So those are the 5 for this week. I will go through and break these out into individual videos, but give them a shot. See what you think. When you're done with each one, post them in the Discord. If you finish all 5, post them in the Discord. Whatever you do, capture them and post them in the Discord, and we'll all go check them out. Ideally, the media would be in an area that is direct in Discord, so screen captures, things like that, or it would be a link to a trusted application like Figma, Miro, or something along those lines. But yeah, give them a shot. Let me know what you think. If you have any questions, drop them in Discord. I'll try to get them as quickly as I possibly can, but I'm excited to see what y'all produce, and I'm hoping that I can get to these as well and participate. So thank you very much.